Hello and welcome to Edie Extra, the new home for all of Edie's special audio features, building on our long-running Sustainability Uncovered podcast with one-on-one interviews, site visits, analysis, panels and more. Hello and welcome along to Edie Extra, the place for discussions about sustainability leadership with sustainability leaders. For today's episode, we're turning our attentions to the ever-changing field of sustainability reporting and specifically looking at the new frameworks which businesses in the EU and the UK have to comply with or align with. I'm delighted to be speaking with Tim Lambert, who is the regional lead for the UK, Ireland and the Nordics at Osapiens, shortly after the launch of their new report on the state of sustainability reporting in the UK, from complexity to clarity. So this was based on a really interesting survey of 150 senior decision makers across the UK, answering questions like, is regulatory compliance really a burden, and how are they using AI to enhance their reporting? So Tim, thank you so much for your time today. How are you?
I'm really well indeed, thank you, Sarah. Thank you for hosting me here.
No problem. Thank you so much for taking the time to come on. I think it'd be great if we could start with an introduction. So if you wouldn't mind introducing yourself and Osapiens to listeners, please.
Yes, thanks very much, Sarah. So as you referenced, I look after the UK, Ireland and Nordics, and I have the privilege of building out the teams here. And speaking of building, I'm a builder and sort of head coach of teams by nature. I love to build and scale teams of wonderful people to do amazing things together. I've got a lot of experience in this regard over the last 15-20 years, from startups, turnarounds and scale ups. So in regards to Osapiens, we're one of those rare things, a unicorn in the green tech software story coming out of Germany. Our purpose and mission is for our hub to power and accelerate the global effort to support world sustainability for future generations. That's a legacy that we want to create. The background of the founding team is they've always worked in supply chain heavy industries, automation, transparency and performance. Their last company, they exited to Honeywell. And when they came together with their experience around critical infrastructure, particularly for food and pharmaceuticals, sort of traceability, their skill was taking what is pretty deep tech and making it look and feel simple for the user, highly configurable and scalable. And the superpower of the business is speed. That's critical because we're able to move on the inflection of what's happening now and next, both in terms of regulation and other business transformational topics. We see a category that we refer to as sustainable growth, meaning we want to help our customers and their entire value chains to get to grips with their data, disclosure management, supply chain risk, resilience, relationships, and to deliver operational efficiencies to improve against those KPIs over time. So we're closing in on 2,500 enterprise customers worldwide from a standing start in 2019. We've been very active in the UK since 2024. And we've built up a really incredible roster of leading name PLC customers across food and non-food retail, manufacturing and energy, all of whom have identified initial ways the Osapiens Hub can materially help them. Put simply, the Osapiens Hub is an AI-powered platform that unifies compliance, supply chains and business critical operational data in one place. So 25 plus solutions, we help companies meet regulations like some of those that we'll be discussing today. In short, we're helping businesses to move beyond compliance to value and from obligation to sustainable growth.
Got it. So loads and loads of customers in the UK. So based on the survey and your work with them, I wanted to get a sort of temperature check from you, Tim. Do you think that, broadly speaking, UK businesses are ready for new EU sustainability reporting standards? Because, as you say, regulation moving super fast, the need for skills and teams to adapt to that and for digital solutions is moving pretty fast as well.
Yeah, it's a great question, Sarah. I think it's a mixed picture. Overall, partly ready, but not fully prepared is kind of how I would look at it as a whole. Anecdotally, as mentioned before, we're fortunate to count among the largest UK HQ businesses as customers. Now, they have already recognised the strategic and business value of taking action. And to reference our sustainability report, which surveyed, as you said, 150 decision makers, some of the findings were interesting. While 68% of respondees highlighted that sustainability reporting is seen as a driver of innovation and competitiveness in their organisations, according to our research, CSRD, CDP Europe and SASB are the most adopted frameworks. The UK faces an upcoming layer, the SRS. The consultation for the SRS finished in September, and we are awaiting clarity of how the new framework will affect UK businesses. It's perhaps for no surprise that 51% of companies say simply keeping up with changing legal requirements is their biggest compliance challenge. Another 27% struggle most with gathering and verifying data, and 26% cite the projected cost of compliance as a big issue. On the positive side, 68% of UK leaders now view sustainability as a source of competitive advantage, not just compliance. Interestingly, 33% plan to invest in automation in the near term, but only 2% have achieved full automation of their reporting processes. So I think you can say the intent is there, but the infrastructure to achieve it still lags. By way of comparison with Europe, where we ran a similar study, from our European report across 250 leaders, the DACH region leads the way, where 88% of companies there use automation tools and 29% have reached full automation. Nordics, 60%, France, 54%, and Italy only 36%. So the UK kind of sits in the middle, aware, motivated, but largely more reliant on manual processes. The UK report shows 69% of those companies favour making sustainability reporting mandatory, arguing that it drives the consistency and transparency that's needed. So that's really interesting, and why perhaps now feels like the right time to digitise before the regulations kick in further.
Got it. And Tim, I'm sure we can dig into digitisation in a bit more depth, but I wanted to touch on maybe why some of the UK companies haven't gone into this all guns blazing, because the EU has been voting and communicating around laws like CSRD, CSDDD, EUDR a lot in recent months, and there's been real confusion over the timelines and scope of these pieces of regulation. So do you think that recent votes and communications that have started to come out in the last few weeks provide businesses with a bit of clarity? What's the latest here that listeners should be aware of?
Sure, thanks, Sarah. On the face of it, it doesn't always. It brings a level of, certainly for those companies, big customers that we have, probably a level of frustration because they've set their course with the right intent. And again, I see larger companies, larger businesses continuing to progress regardless of, what the mixed messages that may be coming through from, regulatory circles in the EU. I don't question the intent. I think the intent is always positive, but I think there's definitely a little bit of naturally perhaps creates a more wait and see from the mid to small companies, albeit the VSME will likely solve for that, I think. But I would say, again, from our direct experience across retail, manufacturing, energy, pharma, they're still very much cracking on with their programs. So I think the overriding impression we get from the base is that what is on the other side of compliance is really important for them and worthwhile. So they're kind of cracking on. The EU's Omnibus process has streamlined some of the elements, but hasn't sort of changed the underlying ambition. And there's reports and things coming out, drafts coming out from EFRAG, etc. as we speak, which ultimately will help clarify situations once they fully pass. I think with CSDDD, I think things are kind of passing now politically. We kind of know better where we are. Now we've got to move into national transpositions and things like this, and that will take a bit of time, but it is coming. And while the EU deforestation free regulation could potentially experience some form of additional delay to enforcement, again, those businesses can see both the importance of it and the complexity, and they are continuing in their droves to continue to move forward with progress there, with putting things into action. So our CEO mentions in our European report, funnily enough, that European businesses are setting the global benchmark. They're sort of turning sustainability into a catalyst for innovation and long-term growth. And that's exactly what we're seeing play out. The most forward-thinking UK companies, especially retailers and manufacturers that we work directly with, are taking action now, and they're not waiting for enforcement dates.
That all makes sense. I think the general vibe is that the direction of travel is still the same, even if the dates and the scope might be a bit different. And then, as you already mentioned in passing, Tim, businesses in the UK have a sort of extra layer of complexity in that we're waiting for the decision on the UK's forthcoming sustainability reporting standards, the SRS. So I know it's not set in stone yet, Tim, but what's your feeling on how they might compare to the EU's and what UK businesses might expect?
We're tracking that really, really closely. As you can imagine, I think we've obviously got a lot of learnings from other European countries in terms of where we see some similarities with what is going to be likely contained within the UK SRS. And it's exciting for us as a business to know that we can help once we get there. But I think the Department for Business and Trade, obviously they've published drafts. The public consultation ran through to 17th of September, which I'm sure you guys are all tracking. And I think these are going to be largely based on the ISSB's global IFRS S1 and S2 standards, but with some perhaps UK specific tweaks. So whilst nothing's mandatory yet, directionally, I think the intent is to mirror the ISSB's approach and connecting sustainability disclosures directly to financial statements, which will make ESG data more decision useful for investors, particularly around climate and sustainability disclosures. So I think what's important for UK companies is that the data expectations are the same, integrated, auditable, and in some way connected to financial information. And it's my belief that the UK can actually leapfrog the EU, learning from its implementation challenges by designing reporting that's simpler, digital, and globally interoperable, provided companies invest early in automation and data consistency. And that's obviously an area that we help with, but we think a plan of action might include conducting, materiality assessments, building a more robust data infrastructure, and addressing, for example, scope 3 emissions early and starting to integrate climate specific analytics. This kind of gives that sort of future proof efficiency and ready for the UK SRS's expanding environmental and social disclosure requirements that we see coming down the track.
And we won't have long to wait for that, I understand. And something else I wanted to touch on is something that you've mentioned a few times, Tim, that the best businesses at this really aren't just waiting for dates, aren't waiting to see the exact small print. They see why the general direction of travel is important. And as you've mentioned, around 2/3 of those that you polled in the UK say ESG is a way to innovate and remain competitive. It's not, as some would say, a burden or just a compliance exercise. So what is that specific value, and how would you advise businesses to find the true and maximum value in this work?
You're right. I think that's the exciting part of some of the findings from the report. In the UK study, 68.5%, 69% of companies say they use sustainability to drive process efficiency. 63% believes it boosts customer loyalty, and 53% say it influences product development positively. So in Europe, that kind of tallies with 53% of the respondents saw new product innovation coming from this beyond compliance. 48% achieve process efficiency again, and 47% say that they enjoy a stronger market positioning on the back of taking action in this way. So I think the evidence is fairly clear, is pretty strong, right? Good data drives good business. Yet probably only around 10% based on our study of UK companies say they have full transparency over their sustainability efforts. So there's still a huge opportunity to turn the ambition, that stated ambition, into action. And I think when the sustainability reporting becomes consistent and transparent, it fuels innovation, it clearly strengthens brands, and it builds resilience in volatile markets, right? Which is got to be something that people are seriously thinking about. So again, I'll quote our CEO from the European report, is that across Europe, sustainability is no longer a compliance exercise. it's a strategic priority that is driving innovation, resilience, and market leadership. Again, the results play out. So I think it's a mindset shift from seeing reporting as a burden to reporting as a value creation tool. I think that's the game changer. And I personally work with large PLCs where they're seeing that now by starting and doing. They're seeing what comes on the other side of it. So I think more and more of those positive stories getting out to market will help those that are still to take action, so to speak.
But no one wants to be the first one to move without seeing their neighbours doing something. And Tim's nodding at me here that you can't see. Part of this mindset change, I think, as well, is also following through and getting into digital solutions. Because when we at edie speak to sustainability teams, they're often very small and spending an increasing amount of their time working manually on data. But the report found that 1/3 of UK companies do plan to invest in automation for ESG reporting in the coming years. And Tim, I wanted to get your view on what exactly the role of automation and AI is in sustainability reporting. Is it data collection? Is it something else?
I think automation is really the engine of progress, right? And I think AI is the accelerator. We mentioned earlier in the UK, only 2% of businesses are fully automated sustainability reporting, and about 38% cite data quality as their biggest barrier. I think the main blockers are implementation cost, 36%, lack of internal expertise, 22%, and interestingly, integration with legacy systems, 31%. That's not something we actually see practically, but we'll address that another time. But when companies do invest, the benefits are clear. So the benefits of automation, 55% see it improves data collection and verification. And if you think about the volumes of data that is involved, that's has a hugely positive impact on businesses, often with not huge sustainability and related teams. 38% see significant gains in compliance tracking, and 33% cite better reporting and audit readiness, all thanks to automation. So I think it has a pretty transformational effect from what is a very time-consuming manual process into, again, what can be a real-time management tool. So it's a real seismic shift once automation is implemented in the right way. I think it also enables end-to-end supply chain visibility, helping companies verify supplier data, for example, track scope 3 emissions, and strengthen accountability. So just obviously to mention in this instance, the Osapiens hub, we do use AI and workflow automation and to unify all of that complexity for customers, right? So from accurate master data integration, helping with supplier onboarding and management to audit ready reporting, giving companies one hub, one version of truth. So you get your master data in, get your supplier data mapped, and there's an awful lot you can do there with solutions like ours. I think that's how you move from reactive compliance to proactive decision making. I think it is that game changing for businesses, certainly the customers that we work with. And that goes back to that first point I made. The founding team are always looking for what are big problems that affect or impact lots of people that we can help to solve at scale. And I think that's the crux of it.
Got it. And Tim, we're coming to the end of our time for this episode, and we've covered a lot of ground here, from mandatory regulation to voluntary framework and even corporate innovation and mindset shifts. So it'd be great to recap and finish with your top takeaway for those looking that are trying to really enhance the way that they deal with their sustainability data, and not only ace their compliance, but use it in decision useful ways as well.
Yeah, Sarah, absolutely. I think the world of sustainability reporting, sustainability is evolving fast. In the UK, I think we're at a real inflection point. Companies, or those companies that we're seeing investing now in automation and transparency, will be the ones that lead. Those that wait risk being, I guess, locked into reactive, kind of fragmented systems. I think the next frontier is around supplier engagement and empowering the entire value chain to participate in transparent data-driven reporting where everybody is winning from that process, environmentally, compliance related and business related. So what businesses now is, wherever possible, simplicity and transparency. I think the ability to bring all data together in one place so that you can move from compliance to control is a really good objective and something we're seeing play out. I think that's exactly what we try and deliver, but helping organizations comply with the rules but turn sustainability into a driver of innovation and long-term growth. I think that's something that UK businesses, we're in a wonderful country here, we're innovative, we always continue to drive innovation, and I think this will play a really big part in that. So I'm excited to see what comes next.
Great. It's been great to speak to you, Tim, because often when we talk about reporting, it's all about the challenges and the uphill battle. So it's also great to hear about the massive opportunities that are on offer. So thank you so much for taking the time to come on ED Extra today.
Thank you very much for having me. It was an absolute pleasure.